Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. Vin Diesel, of all people, revealed a secret Marvel movie that he's been working on with Disney and Kevin Feige, so we'll break it all down because it is the most unexpected mashup of characters, Hulk and Groot in the new Guardians of the Galaxy team, dealing with story after the events of Guardians of the Galaxy 3, so we'll break it all down. Totally did not expect Vin Diesel to try and join the spoiler bros by giving all this stuff away about what's going on behind the scenes with the characters or some of their Hulk-related plans. Also did not expect Hulk to show up in a space-based movie like this that wasn't connected to, say, like Planet Hulk, which they did during Thor Ragnarok. There have already been a couple different movies with Hulk in space, so this wouldn't be the first time. But if you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. I will continue to cover this as we learn more about what's going on, and it seems like Vin Diesel will slowly just leak the movie before it actually comes out. Speaking of leaking the movie, you remember Mark Ruffalo got his Spoiler Bros card by streaming the first part of Thor Ragnarok from inside the premiere back in the day. But in a brand new Instagram post he just made this morning, one picture of him wearing his I Am Groot t-shirt that he's worn on previous Guardians of the Galaxy movies with one of his children. It seems like an old photo, but another brand new photo with concept art that it seems like from the movie that he's working on with Kevin Feige and Marvel for these characters, with King Groot, like the new version of Groot at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 3, going up against Mark Ruffalo's Hulk. As with a lot of things like this, it raises more questions than it answers. Thank you very much, Vin Diesel. Why does the Hulk look so old in this? If you look at his hair, he looks way, way older. Typically, staying in Hulk form actually reverses the effects of aging, like the Hulk should technically live much, much longer. Why does Groot need to fight the Hulk during the events of the movie? Does this have anything to do with what's happening in Spider-Man, with him reverting to Savage Hulk form before Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars? Usually these types of details are why it takes so long to develop movies like this, because they have to work out all those problems. One of my early conspiracy theories is that Vin Diesel wants to put Hulk in the movie because that increases the likelihood of it earning money because the Hulk is so popular internationally, especially with younger audiences, therefore dramatically increasing the chances that Marvel would actually want to make the movie in the first place. His caption reads, "I was always fascinated by the origins of how The Hobbit came to be," talking about J.R.R. Tolkien. You remember, Vin Diesel is a really, really huge nerd. He loves tabletop gaming and Dungeons & Dragons. The idea that it started as a story a father would tell his children around a campfire, J.R.R. Tolkien telling a story to his children. As you know, I've been in deep development in writing on so many of the characters I have grown to bond with, talking about the Guardians of the Galaxy characters. Just recently, I read to my family The Arbor King, a long-awaited story of Groot's return to Planet X. That's the movie that he's working on with Kevin Feige and Disney that they wrote together. There's movies that the world wants, my incredible fans want, and of course the ones the kids want. We are Groot.
Like everything in life, with patience and dedication.
So it just sounds like he's still working on them to try and figure out what they're going to do with the movie because of all the big changes that happened recently at Marvel. Like there were a lot of plans, many movies that got tabled, indefinitely delayed, or outright canceled because of the big soft reboot that they're doing after Avengers Secret Wars and all the changing plans with the future of the X-Men saga at Marvel, like the Mutant saga in Marvel Phase 7 and going forward. When you look at his account, he's got about 103 million followers on Instagram, so it seems like he's trying to juice up all of his own fans and Marvel fans, Groot fans, just in general Guardians of the Galaxy fans, just to try and keep the momentum for the development of this film behind the scenes going so that it doesn't get lost in the shuffle with the big soft reboot that Marvel is doing, because that does happen to a lot of projects that get pitched to Kevin Feige. So a lot of the weirder characters that Marvel was developing projects, movies, TV shows for in the last several years have been canceled or delayed indefinitely. Like Henry Cavill, for instance, was supposed to play a nihilist during a Nova TV show. That got indefinitely delayed and might wind up turning into a movie after Secret Wars at this point. Even somebody as popular as Henry Cavill has problems getting stuff made at Marvel right now. That is how dire circumstances are for them. Vin Diesel has been talking about this Groot movie that he's been trying to make with all the Guardians of the Galaxy characters, Marvel Kevin Feige, for several months now. Basically, it would tell the story of the new King Groot, Arbor King Groot as he calls him, at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 3, returning home to his people on Planet X. It sounds like they're planning on using that movie to tell some of the canceled backstory of the characters that James Gunn was originally planning on doing when he was still at Marvel. So thanks to James Gunn talking about this with all the Superman press and all the DC stuff he's been doing lately, we found out about a lot of his plans that got canceled or tabled when he left Marvel. Like he was in the middle of working on a bunch of brand new Guardians of the Galaxy stuff. But the new movie would also have to bring back Rocket's Guardians of the Galaxy team for at least some of the movie, but it doesn't sound like it would be a mainline Guardians of the Galaxy 4 movie unless that's the only way that Kevin Feige would actually greenlight the movie. James Gunn actually said something like this happened to him with Guardians of the Galaxy 3 in another movie that he was developing before that. You remember at the end of the recent movie, the new roster is Rocket, Final Boss Form, King Groot, that's why his head is shaped like a giant crown, Kraglin, Adam Warlock, the Phyla-Vell version of Quasar, and Cosmo the Space Dog.
Groot, wake up.
The earliest they'd be able to release that movie would probably be 2029, just based on the current movie release dates for Marvel Phase 7 that they've already announced. That's right, there's already been a couple mystery movies, some we know about, that have been announced for 2028. There's a February 2028 movie that's supposed to be Black Panther 3 with Ryan Coogler. That's supposed to happen right after Secret Wars, like the first big Marvel movie after that. Makes sense, huge franchise. They want to follow up Avengers Secret Wars with a giant franchise. There's a May 2028 movie. That's typically their Avengers slot, even though they just delayed Secret Wars and Doomsday. But typically they put their biggest, splashiest movies in that May release date. That's supposed to be the X-Men reboot movie that Jake Schreier is working on right now. Then there's a mystery December 2028 movie. That could be Thor 5 if they're still planning on continuing with that. Chris Hemsworth and Kevin Feige make it sound like they are, but we don't know exactly what that is. It could be any movie, but it probably wouldn't be the new Blade movie because it's going to be rated R. It'll be a smaller budget film. They tend to release those in the fall. Maybe they still want to do Doctor Strange 3. We'll see. December 2028 movie, if that date sticks, could be anything. Just giant, big franchise movie. Like I said, thanks to James Gunn, we actually know about several canceled Guardians of the Galaxy movies and TV shows that he was working on when he left to run DC and do all the Superman movie, the big DCU reboot. There was a legendary Star-Lord movie. It's basically what the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 post-credit scene was meant to set up, with him leaving the Guardians team to Rocket and going back to Earth to visit his grandfather. The whole joke of the newspaper his grandfather was reading was meant to be a reference to Kevin Bacon being yoinked by Drax and Mantis for the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special prior to the events of Guardians 3.
Hello, I'm the Batman. Hello, I'm Bruce Wayne.
Who is Bruce Wayne?
Reportedly, there was a Star-Lord in the Annihilators movie. That could have just been what they turned the legendary Star-Lord movie into, more of a team-up film. Star-Lord will put a new team together, but that also, since they announced that a couple months ago, could have also been delayed indefinitely, or they could completely change that. Sounds like a lot of that development happened before they decided they were going to do a big soft reboot. James Gunn said that he was working on a new Ravagers project. He didn't say if it was a TV show or a movie, but it might have been a movie because he said that he wasn't going to immediately follow up Guardians of the Galaxy 3 with Guardians of the Galaxy 4. He was working on other spin-off projects. This would have been with Sylvester Stallone, Starhawk, who is leading the Ravagers now after the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 3, or it could have been with a different subgroup of Ravagers because Zoe Saldana said that she was done with Gamora, like she wasn't going to continue doing a bunch more Guardians of the Galaxy movies, whereas say like Karen Gillan said that she was totally down to do more stuff with Nebula. There are a couple of the Guardians of the Galaxy actors that did not want to come back. Marvel also planned to eventually bring back Rocket's new team in a mainline Guardians of the Galaxy sequel, but they didn't say when that would actually happen. They might have waited a little bit longer before actually doing that and cycling the roster a little bit more. Also, by the time they would release that, like several years down the line, you have to imagine the Phyla-Vell actress who's a little girl during Guardians of the Galaxy 3 would be an adult by that time, like a vastly different version character. One of the big pitfalls of casting child actors. Then James Gunn actually told the story of how Kevin Feige and Marvel ground him down and got him to release Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and do that movie instead of a completely different Rocket and Groot origin story movie that he wanted to make after Guardians of the Galaxy 2. So it sounds like that origin story movie might get tied up in Vin Diesel's new post-Guardians 3 Rocket and Groot movie. Still not really sure what the Hulk is doing in this movie, but I do like the idea of Groot going up against the Hulk. James Gunn's version of the movie would have been pure origin story, so it would have told the story of the young Rocket after he escapes the High Evolutionary, goes on the run trying to survive. He runs into Groot, who's also been exiled from his people on Planet X. It would have basically told the story of Rocket and Groot that you see before the beginning of the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. So remember, the Groot at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is more like the child of the original Groot. They are two completely different versions of Groot. James Gunn said that Kevin Feige and Marvel just slowly ground him down after Guardians 2 and politely forced him / convinced him to release Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and write that movie instead because they felt like that would be way more profitable than doing a Rocket and Groot origin story movie.
Looks like we're not getting paid.
They were probably correct in that, but that was before the big event that got him fired and then rehired and all that chaos that happened in those ensuing years. So this is like a long time ago when this happened. But everyone, let me know in the comments, what do you think about this new King Groot movie that Vin Diesel is working on? And if Hulk is a big part of it, what do you actually want to see Hulk doing during the movie? Like, what is his reason for being with Groot in this film? We will see if this movie winds up surviving the big reboot. If you don't hear anything about it in the next several years, then you know that Marvel just quietly buried it in their backyard with all their other canceled films. There are many, many canceled films. There are a couple other new Marvel movies that we found out about I just did videos for, so I'll put links at the end of this and down in the description below. But the other big reminder, my next big video will be my Alien Earth Episode 4 video. Fantastic series. Be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss that. Also, watch the series if you aren't already. Click here for that episode. I'll update the link as soon as I post that. And click here to learn about some of those other brand new movies. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.